Here we are. Thank you so much for the great panel that we just had. And here we are. We're just going to continue with someone that I connected through actually Dr. Darcy, who's involved in a panel and is speaking over the weekend. And his name is Robert Mack. He was already involved in a panel this morning, so I'm sure all of you kind of, fell in love with him in many different ways because he's just such an eloquent guy. He's such a lovely, lovely guy. I'm just going to read his bio and then I'll bring him straight in. So Robert Mack is an Ivy League educated positive psychology expert, inspirational speaker, and published author. His work has been endorsed by Oprah, Vanessa Williams, Lisa Nichols, and many others. In addition to serving as celebrity love coach for Famously Single on E! Network for 2 seasons, Robert has also worked as consulting producer on camera expert for Mind Your Business on the OWN network and executive producer and host of Good Morning LA 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 Land on Apple TV and Hulu. So, Robert, thank you so much for being here again today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I just love seeing you, Bernardo.
No, I love seeing you, man. My team love you because you've just been kind of like, you've just been a star all the way along. You've helped us, supported us, and obviously, kind of promoted the event very heavily. But I remember the first time we met, we hit it off, and then we did a great interview in the podcast, which people can find you in my podcast, Inspiring People. But listen, congratulations for all your great work, Robert, and congratulations for all the input you've already given us this morning in that amazing panel, and excited to have you speaking here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always so excited to talk to you, Bernardo. I could talk to you for hours. I think as we've proven.
Yeah. No, well, listen, it has been proven. Well, listen, Robert, thank you so much. I will leave you, obviously, to just, share your wisdom and expertise. I believe the title of your talk is Love from the Inside Out.
That's right. Exactly.
That's right. Okay. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. So I work as a happiness expert, and I find that so ironic and so strange because from the age of about 6 or 7 years old, I was probably the unhappiest, most stressed out, most anxious kid you could possibly imagine. I always thought I'd grow out of it. I thought that if I did well academically and athletically, relationally, financially, professionally, and socially, that I'd eventually grow out of my stress and anxiety and self-loathing and self-hating and depression, and I'd find myself happy. But that did not happen, at least not right away. As I got older, I just became more and more unhappy. I became so unhappy that I decided I was going to research the ways to kill myself. And I decided that I would slash or slit my wrist. I still have the suicide test marks on my wrist to this day. It's a very difficult time in my life. And when I decided I was going to kill myself by slashing my wrist, I remember going to the kitchen. I got a steak knife and I dug it into my wrist. And I had the most unpredictable, inexplicable, sort of ineffable experience of my life. And that is for no good reason, without any of my external conditions or circumstances changing. So in other words, I had a beautiful, loving family. Yeah, we had a lot of stress when I was a kid, but my family loved me and I knew it. I was healthy. I had a beautiful girlfriend. She spoke 5 languages. She could play a song just by ear. I was salutatorian of my high school class. So I had the second highest GPA. And I'd gone on to a great college and had a college scholarship, full ride. Went on to work for a consulting company, made great money, had 2 beautiful German cars. So in all ways, my life was phenomenal on the outside, but on the inside, I was really deeply and truly unhappy. And so as I dug this knife into my wrist, despite none of that changing, I felt the most unlimited peace and unconditional happiness and limitless love that I had ever experienced in my life. And that was extraordinarily surprising for me. I don't know about you, but when you think about an experience like that, that's sort of the last thing you're expecting when you are contemplating or executing, suicide thing. And so at that moment, I decided I was going to postpone the suicide for like 5 or 10 minutes. That was it. At the time, it felt like a very tall order. But I postponed it nonetheless. And I began at that time to do a different kind of research. I started looking at what happiness was, what unhappiness was, what depression was. And it led me down a path where very slowly but surely, I became happier and happier over time. I made lots of different choices during that period of time. And some of those choices led me to Miami, and that led me, surprisingly enough, to a modeling and acting career that I enjoyed for about 10 years. And that led me to even writing a book, Happiness from the Inside Out, about that experience and about some of the clients that I began taking on. Because as I was putting myself through business school and paying for it with modeling and entertainment jobs and TV shows, I started having more and more conversations with people in the entertainment field and in everyday life who wanted to be happy too. And so I decided I would go back to this program at the University of Pennsylvania. It's a master's in applied positive psychology program. If you haven't heard of it, it's the science of what makes life worth living. It's the science of happiness and success. And it has a whole lot to share with you and I about what makes for the happiest life, the most successful life, the richest life, and the most loving life, or the life where you feel the most loved. And I want to share some of that today. But I wanted to share a little bit of that context first. First, because I think it's important for you to understand how sincere I am about the work that I do. It's a personal passion project, and I initially set out to do it just for me. It just so happened that it was benefiting other people as well, and it just so happened that I turned it into a career. Also, however, when I put out my little sign, which was a metaphorical sign, it was an online sign, but a website, to be a happiness coach, when I opened my private practice, I expected, like most of us probably, that I would get people calling me because they were unhappy. They were depressed or stressed out or anxious or self-loathing or self-hating, and they wanted help becoming happier. Well, that is not what happened. Instead, I get lots and lots of phone calls from people who really would call and say, "Hey, Rob, gosh, I could really use your help. I've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or wife that's driving me up the wall, that's just making my life miserable, that's very difficult, that's not doing what I want them to do. Or I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, or I'm having trouble dating." And I remember being slightly frustrated about that because I always considered myself a happiness coach. What did I know about dating and love and relationships? But as I listened and as I did my best to help these folks, I found out very quickly, discovered very quickly, that we all live these lives that are based on these flawed or false premises. And I began to sort of collect those flawed or false premises because I knew one day I would want to sort of share what I was discovering around the truth of those things, around the truth of these myths, misconceptions around love and happiness. And so, first, I want to share a little bit of the research from the positive psychology field that tests to how important it is to be happy. So, as you'll hear me argue a little bit today, very briefly, love and happiness aren't as different as they sound, right? They sound like two different kinds of experiences, but you'll see very quickly that they're very similar. And so, the first thing that positive psychology has to share that and I are hopefully very well aware of, but might not always live out in our personal or professional lives, is that success doesn't lead to happiness, right? Success doesn't lead to happiness. That means money doesn't lead to happiness. We know that if you're making below a level of subsistence, so if you're making less than $75,000 a year, making more money will improve the quality of your life, but it won't make you permanently, lastingly, meaningfully, and abidingly happy. We should all know that. When you make about $125,000 a year, that's in USD, you begin to flatline and you experience what we call the diminishing marginal utility of the dollar. Basically, you get less happiness bang for your buck, right? So success, financial success doesn't lead to happiness. We also know that marriage doesn't lead to happiness, right? So marital success doesn't lead to happiness. We know that generally when you get married, you experience a small bump in your happiness, but during the honeymoon phase, and then you quickly return to your baseline level of happiness or below. We also know that strangely and surprisingly enough, and we have a hard time, I think most of us really hearing this, but health, objective health doesn't lead to happiness. So success in your health doesn't lead to happiness. In fact, there's no correlation at all. There is a correlation between subjective health, how well you feel or believe that you are, how healthy you believe you are, and happiness. Kids don't lead to happiness either. So parental success doesn't lead to happiness. Believe it or not, the first child actually causes a dip in your happiness level, and the second child causes a statistically significant dip in your happiness level, and your happiness doesn't return to its baseline level until those kids leave the house. So that could be 18, or that might be 55 years old today. So kids neither. And so success doesn't lead to happiness. That's the first piece I want to share. Second piece. While success doesn't lead to happiness, happiness does lead to success. And this is where it starts to get really good, especially for those of you who might be interested in love, dating, relationships. Happy people make more money than their unhappy counterparts. So they make about $600,000 to $700,000 on average over the course of their entire lifetime, more than their unhappy counterparts. They also experience better health outcomes. They also live longer. They live about 6 to 7 years longer than their unhappy peers. They also get married earlier, stay married longer, and are happier in all the relationships, whether they're married or not. Remember, it's not about marriage, it's about love, and it's about happiness. Right? So happy people experience better outcomes with respect to longevity, health outcomes, and romantic relationships. Also platonic relationships. What else? Happy people are rated as more physically attractive than their unhappy peers, colleagues, friends, or coworkers, right? So they're rated as more attractive physically. And it's not the other way around. It's not that the more attractive people are happier. We all know that's not the case. But happy people are rated more attractive. Part of that's because of the Duchenne smile. It's a smile that you cannot fake. It is socially and emotionally contagious. And so when you smile or I smile and it's a Duchenne smile or authentic smile, everybody around us feels it. Also, and this is also extraordinarily relevant and important if you care about love and kindness, particularly, happy people are more loving, charitable, kind, generous, and donate more time, money, energy, and blood to individuals and social causes that they care about. But also, more loving, charitable, kind, caring, generous people become happier as a result of that. So we call that a virtuous cycle, right? You begin to spiral upwards and upwards. And this is why I rarely talk about falling in love and often talk about rising in love, right? So let's revisit where we are. So first and foremost, success doesn't lead to happiness. Happiness does lead to success, particularly and especially success in your love, dating, and relationship lives. More than that, happiness is also the greatest success. It's the greatest love. It's the greatest wealth. It's the greatest wisdom, and it's the greatest health. Why is that? Because happiness is what all love aims for. It's what all success aims for. It's what every achievement, acquisition, and accomplishment aims for. It's what all health aims for. It's what all wealth aims for. It all aims for happiness, right? So happiness is the greatest success. It's the greatest love. I'm going to go a step further than that. I'm going to argue today that happiness and love are synonymous, okay? So we often think that happiness and love are two different coins. They're not. They're two sides of the same coin, right? Same coin, two different sides. We often think of love and happiness as two different energies. They're not two different energies. They're two ways of perceiving the same energy. They're not two different phenomena. They're two ways of perceiving or experiencing the same phenomenon. So let me break this down. So when you're tapped in, tuned in, turned on, when you're truly, deeply, fully, authentically happy, you're more charitable, kind, generous. You're just a better, kinder person, right? You're a more loving person. But also when you're loving, you're a happier person, right? When you're happy, when you're loving, when you're focused on the best within yourself and other people, and you're feeling that connectedness with yourself and other people, how do you feel? You feel happier for it, right? So happiness and love are synonyms. What does that mean? That means when you're happy all by yourself, right? And you're alone, you're happy in your aloneness. We call that happiness. We'll just call it happiness, right? Happiness in your aloneness, we'll call happiness. When you're equally or similarly happy in your togetherness, when you're happy and you're out there mixing it up in the world, you're not introverted in this moment, you're not ingoing in this moment, you're outgoing, you're extroverted in this moment, you're spending time with other people, and you're enjoying your togetherness, that's when we call it love, right? So your happiness shared is love. Your self-love shared is love. They're not different energies of phenomenons or experiences. They're the same phenomenon experience, just perceived through two different lenses, right? So here's a great little metaphor that I'll leave you with today, and I'd love to take questions if you all have them, okay? Being happy and rising in love, being in love, or better than that, being love. So what I'm talking about is being love. It means existing in a state of love. In fact, your true state, the original state, in fact, the only state of love, being love. Love in that way is not an exclusive relationship that you have with one other person in the world. The kind of love I'm talking about, the kind of happiness that I'm talking about, the kind of happiness shared that I'm talking about, the kind of bliss shared that I'm talking about is not an exclusive relationship with one other person. It is an inclusive way of relating to everybody and everything in the world, no matter who, where, or why they exist, right? So relating to everybody and everything on the planet in such a way that you relate to them with love and with kindness and with compassion. And it doesn't mean not locking your doors. It doesn't mean giving people your social security numbers or your credit card numbers, right? It means relating from a place of kindness and compassion and happiness. So here's the metaphor I want to share with you today. So think about a metaphor, think about a rain cloud. So a rain cloud is just full of so much moisture. You are a rain cloud, I am a rain cloud, right? You are a joy industry, I'm a joy industry. You are a love industry, I'm a love industry. We're always every day, forever and ever, manufacturing peace, love, joy, and happiness. Okay. We are also rain clouds. And so a rain cloud fills itself up with as much moisture, with as much peace, love, happiness, self-love as humanly possible, right? It fills itself up with so much peace, love, and joy. It's selfishly, ultimately, in the beginning. It's perfectly selfish in the beginning. And so it fills itself up with so much peace, love, and happiness that it can't contain it. It's so full of bliss that it cannot contain it any longer. And without any expectation of reciprocity, without any expectation of reward, without any quid pro quo, without any negotiation, without any business affair, without any politics, this rain cloud showers down indiscriminately, unconditionally onto the entire planet and all living beings that peace, love, happiness, and self-love, not to do good, not for a moral or ethical imperative or prerogative. It does it simply to relieve itself of the burden of carrying around this bliss, peace, love, and happiness all day, every day. It can't help but get it on everybody and everything that it comes in contact with or in touch with. That showering, that indiscriminate, unconditional, no strings attached sharing of peace, love, or self-love, happiness, and bliss down upon everybody and everything on the planet for no other reason than to feel good, to relieve yourself of the burden of carrying that peace, love, happiness, self-love around all day, every day, is called love. I call it love. That's the only experience that deserves the word love. Everything else is ego gratification, ego satisfaction. It is lust. It is entertainment. It is 1,001 things, but it is not love, right? So if it's not happy, it's not love. If it's not loving, it's not happiness, right? So happiness is loving. Love is happiness. Love is free. If it's not free, it's not love, right? So the idea today, I'll just recap briefly, okay? Success doesn't lead to happiness. Happiness leads to success. Happiness is also the greatest success. Another way of saying that. Love doesn't lead to happiness. We should be disabused of that notion by now. All of us who are here today should be disabused of that idea. And if you're not, don't worry, give it some time. Life will disabuse you of it on its own. But other people are terribly unreliable sources for peace, love, and happiness. That's the first point, okay? If you're relying on or waiting on, depending on, or postponing feeling love or peace or happiness because you're waiting or hoping that it's going to come from somebody or somewhere else, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Okay? There is an easier, lazier, smarter way to enjoy the peace, love, and happiness that you ultimately are, and that's by going directly to the source for it, instead of routing it through middle people, middle women, middle men, and middle experiences, middle activities. Okay, you go directly to the source for it. So love doesn't lead to happiness. Happiness leads to love, and happiness is the greatest love. And also, happiness and love are synonyms. They're two sides of the same coin. So that's what I wanted to share today. If you want a little more information, you can always pick up my book, which you can't quite see there, but there it is, Love from the Inside Out. Each page is a meditation on love and happiness that I share from my heart for perfectly selfish reasons that I hope in the end you find of benefit to you too. But if there are any questions, I'd love to take them. Thanks for having me.
Robert, thank you so much. I loved your talk. It was, happiness doesn't necessarily have to come from love. So you're working with a lot of clients, obviously, over the years. What is it you're finding kind of more of now? Have you seen? I think I asked this question. I think we talked about it in the podcast. Is where's love going? Is relationships? What's happening?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Bernardo. I'd say, one of my favorite expressions is, if you're going in the wrong direction, increasing your speed will not help. So we've been going this direction for a little while here, and that direction is often loneliness and disconnection and dissatisfaction. And while on the surface, and for those of you or us who are experiencing that, it can be very unsettling and very disconcerting and very disappointing. On the other hand, it's precisely what we need at this point in time, right? It's a reminder that the world and everybody and everything in the world makes a promise that it cannot keep, which is essentially, I'll make you happy, right? Every person, every experience, and the world itself makes this promise that I'll make you happy, or I'll make you feel loved, or I'll make you feel love. And so I would say, on one hand, if we look at it just based on appearances alone, we'd say, well, people are becoming lonelier. They're becoming unhappier. They're becoming more anxious, more stressed out, more distracted, more narcissistic. On the other, we could look more deeply and say, actually, people are coming to experience the truth, which is that the world, other people and other places and other things and other activities are terribly unreliable sources for peace, love, and happiness. And they're coming to discover every day more and more that the peace, love, happiness, and true abundance and prosperity that they seek is always not only within them, but exists as them. So when your mind is cool, quiet, calm, composed, and essentially turned off, and you're just feeling into the experience of simply existing, believe it or not, the peace, love, and happiness that you've been seeking through other people, places, and things is already there. It's already your experience. And so the more time you spend in that placeless place or spaceless place, the higher you sort of turn up the dimmer switch on the peace, love, and happiness that we all ultimately are. So there's two ways of looking at it. One is that things are getting worse. The other is that things are getting much better. And I think they're both true. And it just sort of depends on the depth of your vision, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer. It's getting better and it's getting worse.
Yes. Very, very Charles Dickens. The best of times and the worst of the time. Depends on what you focus on.
Exactly. But I think part of the problem is that people just struggle to be alone, isn't it? I mean, just I can't be alone. I can't be alone. I can't be alone. I need someone. I need someone. Is that not part of the issue?
So good, Bernardo. I mean, gosh, this is why I can talk to you for days and days on end, and everybody is here today. Yes, absolutely. And you bring up a great point, which is something worth discerning. We often think of loneliness and aloneness as being synonyms, as being one and the same experience. But aloneness is the objective experience as being by yourself. Loneliness is the subjective experience of being by yourself. Aloneness doesn't necessarily lead to loneliness, and loneliness isn't necessarily precipitated by aloneness, right? So in other words, you can be in a crowd surrounded by thousands of people or an intimate relationship and feel lonely still. You can also be totally by yourself with no one around at all and feel love and connection and happiness and peace and joy. We do it all the time. We do it in our sleep. It's that easy, right? So yeah, loneliness and aloneness are really important topics to discuss and to share with people. But the most important piece is to remember and remind everyone that just being alone doesn't necessarily have to lead to loneliness. And there's help out there.
Great, Robert. Yeah, listen, I could speak to you all day. By the way, my book is out today. I will ask for your address. I want to send you a copy and you can send me one of yours. I'd love you to read it. Love to see what you think.
I'm going to eat it up. I'm a voracious reader, Bernardo, especially anything come from you. So please send it to me. I'll be all over it. And I'll make sure that I give you a 5-star review because I know it's that good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, Robert, thank you so much for your great energy. I think we've got you working on another panel, haven't you? Another day? Or yes,
yeah, I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, work you hard, Robert. Work you hard. That's it. That's how we roll. That's how we roll at the Best You.
That's right. Work hard, play hard. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a great man. What a great speaker, Robert Mack. Thank you, Robert. Well, I'm loving it. What about you? Loving it. Absolutely. I used to do this anchor when I was at the events. I used to do this. Well, I used to stand on stage. I used to go, love. I used to do like that. And I used to do the voice and the hand. And at the end, we'd always go like that. And people knew it was love. So I'm loving it. Anyway, I've got a great speaker coming up soon. She's my spiritual coach, Jennifer Huff. Love her. And she's going to be coming up in a few minutes. I've got a message coming up. It's all very interesting, guys. I hope you're taking advantage. I hope you're getting your phones out to scan those QR codes so you can connect with these amazing speakers. I hope you connecting with them and also taking advantage of all the amazing, great offers that we have. But we'll be back in a few minutes. Lots of love to you.
The Inspiring People interview series is a collection of exclusive interviews sure to inspire and motivate you. I'm Bernardo Moya, the founder and Chief Inspirational Officer of The Best You. And in this series of interviews, I'm in conversation with industry leaders, thought leaders, self-made millionaires, Olympians, and global sports personalities, the influencers of today's world. I find out about their start in life, their early days, their rise to success, and both the good and the bad times. We discuss their opinions on education, business, money, and just how to be happier. Join us to find out more about these fascinating and inspiring people.
My passion is to set people free by helping you transform any area of your life more effectively and faster than anything you've tried before. I do this by unique abilities gifted to me through 2 near-death experiences that allow me to help you change your frequency, changing your life. But there's hundreds of thousands of people that are already living this way. It's been a proven method, and now I'm going to share it with you. So I'll see you on the Moss Experience.
The Best You TV, available now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play.
What is life? Your life isn't just about what you're doing now. Your life is the sum of every hope you ever had and everything you ever wanted to be. Life is about the situations you deal with, how you get to where you want to be, and how you become who you want to be. Life is a collection of moments and memories. Life is about being alive, feeling alive. Life is about dealing with whatever fate throws at you. Life is about staying on top when things are challenging. Life is about enjoying yourself, about finding yourself, about leaving a legacy. Life is about looking and feeling good, about staying ahead. It's about being the best you. What you want, what we all want, is a life without limits. So why don't you be the best you?